Welcome to our journey into the fascinating world of non-chordates. Imagine trying to build a towering skyscraper without any central steel framework to hold it up. You would have to rely on thick outer walls or internal pressure to keep the building from collapsing under its own weight. In the animal kingdom, this is exactly how non-chordates live their lives every single day. From the tiny microscopic amoeba to the giant squid, these creatures have evolved bizarre and incredible ways to move, eat, and survive without a spine. Let us dive in and explore how they do it. Now that we have introduced the idea of life without a spine, let us look at what this means practically. Why does lacking a backbone matter so much? A backbone provides a convenient anchor for muscles and protects the delicate nerve cord. Without it, non-chordates had to get creative. They are a massive and diverse group of animals that completely lack a central backbone or internal skeletal rod. To compensate, they rely on alternative structural strategies. Many develop hard outer shells, like crabs and snails, while others use pressurized fluid-filled cavities, like earthworms, to maintain their shape and function. Building on their unique structural strategies, we must establish exactly how biologists classify these creatures. In biological terms, non-chordates are defined by one primary negative trait. They are animals that do not possess a notochord at any stage of their embryonic or adult development. But what exactly is a notochord? It is a flexible, rod-like structure that provides support. In humans and other chordates, this embryonic rod eventually develops into the vertebral column, or backbone. Because non-chordates completely lack this structure from birth to death, their entire evolutionary path took a fundamentally different direction from ours. Because they lack a notochord, this brings us to the fascinating anatomical differences that set non-chordates apart from animals like us. Their internal layout is essentially upside down compared to ours. If they have a central nervous system, their nerve cord is typically solid and located on the ventral, or belly, side of their body. Furthermore, if they possess a heart for pumping fluids, it is usually situated on the dorsal, or backside. This is the exact opposite of human anatomy, where our spinal cord is on our back and our heart is in our chest. They also completely lack pharyngeal gill slits and a true postanal tail. To truly visualize these anatomical differences we just discussed, let us look at this comparative diagram. On the left, we see the non-chordate body plan, representing an insect or earthworm. Notice the red heart located at the very top, which is the dorsal side, and the blue nerve cord running along the bottom, or ventral side. Now look at the chordate on the right. The arrangement is completely flipped. The blue nerve cord is dorsal, supported by the brown notochord, while the red heart is ventral. This diagram perfectly illustrates the inverted body plan that defines the evolutionary split between these two great animal lineages. Having seen their unique anatomy, you might wonder why we spend so much time studying animals without backbones when they seem so primitive. The truth is, non-chordates are the true rulers of our planet. They make up over 95% of all known animal species on Earth. They are absolutely essential to the survival of global ecosystems and human civilization alike. Earthworms tirelessly aerate the soil for our crops. Bees pollinate the flowers that produce our food. In the oceans, microscopic zooplankton form the foundational base of the entire marine food web. Without non-chordates, the world's ecosystems would instantly collapse, and life as we know it would cease to exist. Understanding their massive ecological role leads us to an important question about how the simplest of these creatures survive. Because many lower non-chordates lack complex respiratory and circulatory systems, they face a massive physical challenge. They cannot pump oxygen deep into their bodies because they do not have a heart pumping blood to every cell. Instead, oxygen must slowly seep through their skin via simple diffusion. The efficiency of this diffusion is strictly governed by the organism's geometry. Specifically, it depends on the ratio of its surface area to its internal volume. This critical biological constraint dictates their physical size and shape. This geometric constraint we just discussed can be expressed using a simple mathematical ratio. This formula unlocks the secret to why primitive animals look the way they do. The variable SAV represents the surface area to volume ratio. This dictates how efficiently an organism can exchange gases with its environment. The variable A stands for the total surface area of the organism exposed to the outside world, usually measured in square millimeters. The variable V represents the total internal volume of the organism, measured in cubic millimeters. When the volume increases, the ratio rapidly decreases. This means the animal can no longer absorb enough oxygen to support its internal mass. Before we move on, let us see this formula in action with a concrete example. Imagine a microscopic spherical non-chordate floating in a pond with a measured radius of 2 millimeters. We need to calculate its surface area to volume ratio to determine if it can survive by simple diffusion alone. First, we calculate the surface area using the standard formula for a sphere, yielding 16 pi square millimeters. Next, we calculate the internal volume, which gives us 32 over 3 pi cubic millimeters. Finally, we divide the area by the volume. The pi terms cancel out beautifully, leaving us with a final ratio of 1.5. Since this is greater than the required minimum of 1, this spherical organism will easily survive. Now that we have calculated the ratio for a sphere, let us look at a completely different shape. We will model a flatworm, mathematically, as a simple rectangular prism to understand its evolutionary advantage. The formula shown is the standard geometric formula for the surface area of a rectangular box. The variable A is the total surface area. The variables L, W, and H represent the length, width, and height of the worm. The term L times W represents the large top and bottom surfaces of the flatworm's body. Because the worm is so physically flat, the height is incredibly small. This means the top and bottom surfaces will contribute the vast majority of the area available for gas exchange. Let us apply this new formula to a specific flatworm to see how much skin it has available for breathing. We are given a flatworm with a length of 10 millimeters, a width of 10 millimeters, and a very thin height of just 0.1 millimeters. We substitute these dimensions into our surface area equation. The top and bottom areas give 100 square millimeters each. The tiny side edges only add a minuscule 1 square millimeter for each pair of sides. Multiplying the sum inside the parentheses by 2 gives a total surface area of 204 square millimeters. This provides a massive, wide canvas for oxygen to diffuse across and enter the flatworm's body. Having found the massive surface area, we are now setting out to mathematically prove why flatworms do not need complex gills to survive. To do this, we must first find the volume. We calculate the total volume by multiplying the length, width, and height together in a single step. Because the height is a mere 0.1 millimeters, the total internal volume is heavily restricted to just 10 cubic millimeters. This mathematical step reveals something crucial. There is very little internal tissue demanding oxygen at any given moment. A small volume is highly advantageous when you do not have a heart to pump blood. Next, we will combine this with our area to find the final ratio. This brings us to the final step of our mathematical proof. We divide the massive surface area of 204 by the tiny volume of 10. This yields a staggering ratio of 20.4. Now, compare this to the spherical organism's modest ratio of 1.5 that we calculated earlier. The flatworm is mathematically vastly superior at breathing through its skin. This high ratio ensures that oxygen reaches every single internal cell almost instantly. We have successfully proven exactly why non-chordates without circulatory systems evolved to be flat. Their geometry is a perfect mathematical solution to a biological problem. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the most important ideas. First, non-chordates are an incredibly diverse group, defined primarily by the complete absence of a notochord. Second, because they lack this skeletal rod, they evolved unique anatomical layouts, such as a ventral nerve cord and a dorsal heart. Finally, their lack of complex internal transport systems forces them to rely on simple diffusion. As we proved mathematically, this biological constraint dictates their physical size and shape, forcing many to remain small or flat. You now understand the foundational characteristics of invertebrates, preparing you to explore this fascinating world further.